Welcome back to another episode of This Week in ZA, the podcast where we dive into the world of software engineering over a slice of pizza. I'm Kodad, here with my co-host Chad on the other side, and every week we sit down with a guest from the industry to talk culture, projects, and everything in between while eating some great food. Today's guest is Brian Zimmer, the Chief Product Officer at Don't Panic Labs, and today we are eating the taco pizza from Ramos to continue the theme of Season 2. We'll have some conversations around what we may or may not do to it on the episode. So stick around if you want to get some great insights, share a laugh or two, and maybe get a little bit hungry. Let's dive in.
All right, we always ask the same question, or some form of it.
Then it's not the same.
That's true.
All right.
Semi-same.
Restart.
No,
We
can't
should
restart
be,
this.
We should be rating our guests on an annoyance level, and I think we will start that today.
Brian's keeping you on edge. You give him a wobbly chair, that's what you get.
Yeah.
This is the kind of chair you get on this podcast.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do to people. No, like what is in software or in career? What has been your biggest mistake, or really most importantly, your funniest mistake?
Oh, man.
If it's not funny, don't go with it. We really want funny, but.
Now look at this. You both get to take a bite.
Yes.
Here. You make me think and then me talk.
Yeah,
I see how this works.
This whole thing's about Kodad and I getting to eat a lot of pizza.
I
People
guess.
don't know that.
True.
So it's semi-funny, but I think this was like a really good learning when I was like newer at Nebraska Global. It was when we were building EliteForm, actually. So EliteForm is this sports science strength and conditioning tracking application we built. We used 3D motion capture technology to track athletes while they were lifting weights. And, it was really groundbreaking at the time because we could actually count the reps and measure the amount of power and do some form analysis and video analysis with it. And, we worked really hard to figure out, like, where do we need to put this camera so it could see the athletes while they were lifting weights? And so we had to actually get into this hardware dimension. So for the first time ever, it wasn't just software we were thinking about, but it was like how athletes interacted in the real world with our technology. Sure. And so we had to get the camera like 3 feet back so it had a wide enough field of view. And, it was pretty exciting when we actually got this working and we got the camera up there and everything was going. And, we had it in use at the university for a couple weeks. And, all the strength and conditioning happens early in the mornings. And I think I got a phone call. It was probably around like 7 a.m. or so. And one of the strength coaches was like, Brian, we're going to need you to replace that bar that mounted that camera on the weightlifting rack. And I'm like, what? Why? Why are we going to need to do this? And they said, well, one of the athletes decided to actually do some pull-ups on the bar. And I said, man, what was he thinking? Why is he doing pull-ups on this bar? I mean, it was a little aluminum bar, right? Because it was like a half-pound at most camera. Yep. And they said, well, hang on, Brian, don't get mad, because I was pretty frustrated at the time. He goes, what you got to understand is, in a weight room, athletes can work out on any piece of equipment. No. And I said, oh, man. Duh. Okay, I wasn't thinking about that at all. Yep. It wasn't the athlete being malicious or anything like that. It's just they can work out in everything in the room. And so then we had to solve the problem of, well, how do we mount a little camera a ways off the bar and let an athlete do pull-ups off of this bar? So when you looked at then the next version of the product, literally had this little camera and this really thick bar that you could literally do pull-ups off of.
That makes sense. Did you ever get to talk to that athlete that actually broke it?
I never did. I should have.
You saying like if he jumped up to grab it thinking it's just going to and the wire comes down with it?
Nope. I don't know whatever happened to that bracket, but it did have a good bend in it. That would have been one of those things that would have been just awesome to keep as a memory of thinking about the whole environment.
Put on the wall of fame.
Yeah.
Now I'm most of the way through. First piece. Again, Ramos always does a great job with crust.
Oh yeah.
They have a great crust. And for me personally, it's kind of taco pizza, obviously comparing it to Casey's taco pizza, right?
Yep.
And I can see you right now are adding
I'm getting ahead of the game.
Casey's taco sauce to a piece. And we all have some, so we can try that on a piece. I'm going to try that on the second piece, but it's good. I don't know. Get your kind of initial thoughts there, Kodad. Now that we're letting Brian
has to go first.
All right.
I've got to go first?
You have to give
one
the first.
bite.
I know. Well, eat
we can't
faster.
influence
What have you
your
been doing this whole time?
I don't know.
You should have been doing something instead of just sitting there talking. You should have been.
I was talking?
Yeah.
How long have we been here?
A couple hours.
I blacked
Don't
out
worry
with
about
Oh,
it.
wow. So you want me to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10, and the kind of standard rules, 9 and 10. If this is a 9 and 10 pizza, none will be left because we will eat it to the point of death.
Yeah.
7, 8, really good.
Yeah.
But you could stop.
Okay.
5, 6, really good pizza. You'd tell someone that's good pizza, but not like something necessarily to write home about. 3 and 4s, you can eat it. Have we had any? Yeah, we have any 2s or 3s. 1.
Maybe.
You've had 1. Those are kind of rough. Like you could eat it for substance, but you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe
You're not having a great time.
Not having a great time. Maybe one of those like cheap Tostinos ones, and someone microwaves it or some horrible thing, and you have to eat it. And then like a 1 or so, that's like almost unedible, pizza, which is kind of hard to achieve. I mean, that is kind of, you should be a little proud of achieving a 1 on a pizza. So that's pretty rough.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of our scale. All right, where you got?
9.
Wow. So we're not leaving any
Really like
pizza.
it.
What you both don't know is you accidentally ordered my favorite pizza.
Oh.
Oh,
I love Ramos taco pizza.
Really? You've had
Okay.
this before?
Yep.
Wow. That's the first time that's
Now,
happened.
the reason it gets a 9 rather than a 10, because my all-time favorite pizza is Pizza Hut's taco pizza, circa 1990s. They have since
Interesting.
stopped making it.
Okay.
But this
They
has
don't make a
become-
taco pizza.
That's right. Pizza Hut does not make a taco pizza anymore.
Kind of surprised by
This is
that.
pretty close to how they used to make their taco pizza.
It is pretty close. I would have given that a 10 back then.
Okay.
Because they used to keep like all the toppings separate and then put them on at the last minute.
Sure.
We're doing the takeout at the moment, so
Yep,
it's just
yep, yep.
not quite the like cold and hot contrast.
Right.
But what I do love about what Ramos does is they have kind of that enchilada sauce on here.
I
that
wondered.
I think really gives it an edge over, in my opinion, Casey's taco pizza, which comes close to this
I
as
was
my
going to
take.
bring something like that up in my take. So, this is a bit spicier than Casey's.
Yep.
It is spicier, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
That's-
something going on there, which is really great.
That probably is the enchilada sauce. You're probably
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the crust is better than Casey's. I'm going to go out and say that because Ramos crust is amazing.
Ramos
do you usually get the beef or do you get chicken?
I usually get the beef.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I didn't know
have
the
never
pigs,
tried
so
their
I
chicken.
really
Actually, I
did.
should do that. Yeah.
And the chicken sounds good too. I have gotten a chicken taco pizza from Casey's before because somebody doesn't like beef on pizza, like ground beef. So, and that was fine.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted to pull this up so I could see what my other ratings were, but I think I'd give this like an 8.2.
An 8.2.
I think so. It's really, really good. It's over a 9 when I add the taco sauce to it. So my opinion of Casey's taco pizza is that the taco sauce is what makes it. So you got to put taco sauce on taco pizza to elevate it.
Yep.
But there's no spicy on that one. The enchilada sauce in this one gives it a little bit of kick in there. So I really like that. Although these don't have Doritos, so I feel like it's not quite as cheesy as the Casey's one too. Both very good.
It's a good
pizzas.
point.
And
It's
this
a good point.
this is great pie.
This is a really tough one for me.
Yeah, now you're thinking about it more.
Well, no, because it is really, really good.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Did I give a 9 to the Casey's taco?
It's not loading. I can't pull it.
Oh,
up.
okay.
I wanted to.
Okay.
I usually have all our scores pulled up so I
Wow.
can review.
I'm going to go an 8, which is like either tied to my highest score or right up there. I think the visual presentation of this was pretty mediocre. Like we opened the box, I'm like, oh, it didn't. Casey's, for some reason, like the taco looks good to me. Even it has a lot of color and this does have a great flavor. And I think you're right. It's that there's a tiny bit of heat.
Yeah.
Like my
Yep.
wife, I don't think would like this pizza because she doesn't like anything spicy. So I think that would be a problem. But it's really good.
But I think the other thing that really elevates this pizza is if you get some sour cream to add to the top. That was the other thing Pizza Hut always did that taught me that idea, was they'd always bring out some extra sour cream to
I've
go
never
along
thought
with
about
it.
putting sour cream on taco pizza.
Yeah.
I bet that'd be amazing.
Yep.
Okay, so you put fresh toppings on there and sour cream.
Yep.
That's a 10.
Yep.
Okay. You've worked with one or two people that were new in the software over your years.
1.5.
Yeah,
One
one or two.
1.21.
Of all the people that you've seen come in the door, pitch software, that we've worked with existing software, that we've helped update software, all those situations, what's one or two things that you love to see in those customers? Whether it be behavior, something they bring to the table, ways that they think, like
Yep.
what is it that you love about some clients?
Yeah. Gosh, there's a number of things, but I think the biggest thing that helps make someone successful is first just focus on the root problem. Because there's, so many things you can do, so many things that can happen. Narrowing your field of view to something meaningful And being clear on that helps start the process and helps get everybody aligned around that thing and get some focus on it.
Yeah.
But then secondly, mirroring that with curiosity. That's really what creates the rocket fuel for innovation. You know, a lot of what we're doing, when we build software, we don't have a great track record of building the right things. You know, depending on the stats you look at, 60 to 80% of the features that are put into software are rarely or never used by customers. And so whenever we do that, that's waste. And people building software for the first time or startups or things like that, you can't afford to have that waste.
Right.
And if you have that waste, you might not actually be able to solve it. And so, you know, in those earliest of stages, you know, you can't be tied to your solution, and you have to be willing to be like really narrow so that you can get something that actually resonates with your customers and actually catches and starts to grow so you can start to add other things on top of it. I think the surest way to failure is when I see people who are like, well, I'm solving 6 problems with 30 features, and because I'm doing something for everybody, it'll work. And actually what ends up happening is you kind of mediocre solve things for a whole bunch of people, and they just are like, well, okay, there's no defining thing to this solution.
Right. Do you think a lot of people, you kind of have to get on that journey of like, pick the one?
It's gotten better over the years. I think we're getting better as an industry, like teaching some of like the lean startup methods and problem solving methods, but I think it's still too easy for us to like have too wide of a field of view, or to think that, oh, it's going to be really easy to build features 1 through 5, right? So let's just build them all. When in actuality, no, it actually is a decent amount of work to build features 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So I think we've made progress, but I think that it's still, we have a little ways to go, especially as we think about like the life cycle of a solution over the long run. Because whatever we start with as a solution to that problem, chances are it isn't going to resonate 5 years later or 10 years later. The quickest way your business is going to go out of business is if you try to keep the same solution over that long period of time, because somebody else is going to come in with a better solution to the problem. Mm-hmm. And so if as a company we're not tied to the solution, we're not in love with the features that we have, we're actually in love with solving the problem, chances are we'll iterate on our solution and remain competitive over the long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I guess I was going to go ask some questions kind of back in the past, if you will.
Jumping all over the place.
Jumping all over the place. You have an interesting, you know, kind of history. Like you had like a small consulting, you know, thing years ago, but I wasn't going to go there. Although I do think you have some good stories kind of from back in those days.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, what are some things you've kind of seen from were you actually one of the few people that actually started when it was still the J.D. Edwards program?
Like when I went to college.
Yeah, was it J.D. Edwards when you started, and when you graduated it was Rakes?
No, actually it was, well, I graduated, it was still J.D. Edwards.
Oh, it was? Okay, for some reason I thought it
when I got my
switched.
MBA, it was still J.D. Edwards.
Oh.
And then when I was teaching there, that's when it switched
Oh,
to
okay.
Rakes. Yep.
So what have you kind of seen from that journey, and during that time? What have you learned from that, and what do you wish you maybe would have done different during that time?
Yeah, when I was a student.
Yeah.
So what I loved from that time, and the reason I went to that program, was just the integration of computer science and business. Yeah. You know, we all get into computer science and technology because we love solving problems or creating an impact.
Or creating problems.
And yeah, that's kind of fun too.
Yeah.
Especially this guy. And so what appealed to me about that program was I was like, well, I can learn more about than just the tool. I can actually learn about a domain where we can solve problems and have some other methods with that. And so I loved that I could see the application along the way in it. And also I love that in the capstone experience of that, you actually got to partner with businesses to create some solutions. So that felt great. The advice I would give to myself if I was doing it over again would be to leverage the fact that I was a student more in building relationships. I think one of the things students don't realize is that there's a lot of people in our ecosystem and even broadly that want to help students succeed and want to teach students. And you know, if you were curious about businesses as a student, you could call them up and literally say, hey, I'd like to learn about this, or I admire you as a leader, I'd like to learn more about this. And a lot of people would say yes to that at that point, thinking that they could help a student. I also think it helps validate products in some ways because when you look at a student team, there might be a little less friction in them going and exploring problems with businesses.
Sure.
And so I think that's the advice I'd give myself because I feel like although I met a number of business leaders, I could have been pretty intentional about actively reaching out to more and building some relationships while I was a student.
That's cool.
I just watched a video last night talking about the next generation of actors and actresses in Hollywood and how we're not seeing as much of a talent bloom because we're still holding on to the past. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if there's something I can learn from that with software stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's quite the same, but they talked about like De Niro, how we got to start in Godfather 2 as like the younger person of who's the Godfather guy? Marlon Brando.
What was the name of the character in the movie? There we go, Don Corleone. We have our producer behind the scenes knows these things well.
But now they just
We're
made
not
that-
supposed to talk about that wall.
We have no walls here.
Okay, all right.
But then they made The Irishman, and instead of finding a younger actor to portray a young De Niro, they just use CGI. So they use that legacy actor to portray his younger self instead of elevating younger talent.
Interesting.
So now when I hear these conversations around like the power of students in software, I'm like, okay, that's us doing a better job at elevating that younger talent than Hollywood. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about
Yeah.
what you're talking about there. I'm curious if there's any statistics to kind of back that up.
Yeah,
So-
why do we keep de-aging actors instead of finding new talent? Anyway.
Current actors probably prefer it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're saying that De Niro's in the movie is going to get people in the theater.
Yeah.
Well, assumedly, Irishman was kind of big, but
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Scene?
see,
Scene! We're killing it on time.
That's good.
I don't know that I got another. Do you have another question?
I can do one more question.
Am I not talking enough?
Oh, you're
No, you're
good.
doing great. Or do we do outro and then Brian segment?
Let's do outro then Brian saying so he has to be done at 45.
Right.
I could go just a touch later. I was able to prep
Okay.
a little more earlier.
Okay.
But
You know what? I'm going to call out something interesting off. You know what's really good from here?
Off the record.
This thing is quite good.
I won't
Yeah.
tell Doug you said the handle sauce was good.
I don't care if Doug thinks I like the handle sauce or not. I don't care one way or the other. But more pizza up here, Russ.
Zimmer gave it a 9. That means he's eating the rest of it.
Actually, that's true.
Mine-
We don't have to leave
That's
it.
how it works.
We'll
Now
check
I
this
know.
rating.
have either of you given a 9?
I think I gave it
I'd
9
love
to
to
talk
tell ya.
Casey's talking.
Oh, you still or
Yeah, it still hasn't loaded.
But the handle sauce
I
is
don't
shocking.
call you giving a 9.
Have you seen all the
You
episodes?
should try the handle
No, I
sauce.
haven't seen all the episodes.
Well, no,
All
they
the
have
ones I've
red
seen.
sauce up here.
So the-
but they also have this handle sauce, like a
What
butter.
do you think the handle sauce is? Is it like a buttered garlic then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot like-
emulsified butter and garlic and probably some salt in there.
Yeah.
I look forward to this being Doug's next venture, his next career. He's the only person I know that's called it handle sauce. Right?
It's true.
And so, when
So
we
making
had
that a
him
handle-
last, I learned a new term. I think there needs to be Doug's handle sauce. And it's just stuff it's a side component to when you eat your pizza.
So I gave the Ramos pepperoni cream cheese a 9.3 because that's
Oh.
my favorite. Or
Okay.
actually, Randy Ross 9.5. That's my favorite pizza in town.
Actually, the pepperoni cream cheese, that's my wife's favorite.
It's
We get that
very,
one most
very
of the times.
Very, very good.
This one's a little bit spicy for her, so that's why.
Did you give
we
this an
ended-
8 or a 9, Chad?
What?
What'd you give this?
8.
8. A lot of 8s. Chad's only 9 is the Casey's Taco Pizza.
Yeah.
So you like that one more?
Yeah.
You didn't even give the brisket one a 9?
I think that was a 7.
Really?
gave
I
the-
really enjoyed that one. That's the one that stuck in my
You gave the
mind.
brisket an 8.
Did I? Okay. That was a good one because that was the Jeff from Cattleman episode.
You gave the Philly a 5 though.
The Philly one just didn't do it for me.
That didn't taste like when you say something's a Philly, that sets an expectation, and that pizza did not meet that Philly expectation.
Yeah. I think if it was fresher, that one would have been better. We kind of sat and waited for like.
Maybe, but still, just even a cold Philly tastes pretty good, and that one just kind of missed it. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was bland. Like
Yeah,
everything
it was
had.
very- that's what it was.
There was something different. Like
Like this one has plenty of flavor. I don't have any objection because there's flavor. That one was just like, I'm eating some dough with some stuff on it.
did it have Alfredo sauce on it? I don't remember which
what
sauce
was
it
it?
was.
I think it had normal sauce, didn't it?
Was it?
It was something.
It was again so little flavor. It was
Yeah.
bread with a little bit of stuff on it.
The opposite of Philly. All right. Outro.
Outro.
do I end it?
Rate.
I don't remember how I end it.
This has been another wonderful episode here of
Oh,
This
no,
Week in
it's-
ZA.
Yeah, something like, well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of This Week in ZA. No, that sounds like the beginning.
Somehow we end these normally. We're having
Russ,
a
how
tough
do I end
time.
these? Why am I brain farting this?
Hey, well, someone pull up a past episode.
Yeah.
We can figure this out.
Oh, no.
Can
Okay.
we watch an episode on the episode?
I know
Us watching episodes of This Week in ZA. That's season 3.
That could be
Ooh,
your
react. We watch and react to the episode, and then we put in a little picture-in-picture at the bottom, and we go, oh.
Well, this could be like your Spaceballs moment, right?
Yes, yes.
When
Yeah.
will then be now?
Yes. Now or then.
Soon.
If you enjoy Spaceballs, leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell for notifications if you want to know when we publish a new video. I think we're about out of Ramos pizzas on the menu. We're getting close. There might be 2 or 3 left, but we might be looking for a new pie soon. So if you have recommendations for different pizza places in Lincoln that we should check out, maybe for season 3,
And if you are a pizza place that wants to sponsor us for season 3,
yeah, we'd be happy to entertain all offers. Brian, thanks again for coming on. Russ, again, thank you for producing, making us look and sound as good as we could possibly look and sound. Until then, tune in next week. See ya.
okay. You know, he's also eating pizza, so it's really good there. Kind of thinking about Don't Bank Labs, we're going to work on a lot of startups, we're going to do a lot of new things. You know, kind of from what we're seeing, where do you see the industry headed in the next few years?
Ooh.
People always like those kind of questions.
Yeah.
And we will look back on those 3 years from now and see if you're right.
Okay.
The reactor.
Yeah, I think where I see the industry headed is a period of increasing change. You know, it's interesting with the advent of AI, we can talk about all kinds of different things, but I think that what we will have is new technologies, new applications of technologies, and new ways of solving problems. And so for us as an industry, we're going to have to figure out ways of learning these new methods of solving problems, new user experiences, etc. And then a year or 2 later, realize that that thing that was the obvious solution might not be the obvious solution anymore, and stay up to date enough to realize there might be a new and better way of solving it. So I also think that with some of the changes that are happening, hopefully we'll be able to solve more problems at a faster rate, or solve problems that previously we couldn't solve because it wasn't viable to solve them. So I'm looking forward to hopefully better tailored solutions or more niche solutions emerging as well.
Without naming any names, do you have any past clients that were just like, oh, we couldn't quite do that at the time, but now you're like, hey, if they walk back in the door, we got it this time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of our current clients, you know, that we built a mobile app for, you know, technology had changed in such a way that now it was much more practical to build that as well. But I can actually think back to a number of ones where it wouldn't have been viable before, but now we can actually scrape the information, process the information or such in some way that would have been very costly or not as effective as before.
Yeah, anything with unstructured data before was almost cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, unless you really were willing to tolerate users just doing a lot of work. Now you can actually interact with unstructured data. People will have counter arguments to what I just said, but in general, I think that statement has a lot of value.
Nice.
Yeah.